Welcome to the Digital Accelerator, and we want to thank you all for taking the time this morning. Spend a little time with us to learn a little bit more about our company and the status of some of our key initiatives. I'm going to start this morning by talking about some of the macroeconomics as to why we are very bullish about the future and very bullish about the investments we made, because we believe we made the right investments for the right markets, for the right applications. So the world is changing. You know, and this is well known to you in particular. When you look at what the rate of urbanization is in the world, and this is something, of course, that's driven UTC for years and the basis of our strategy, the rate of urbanization and the subsequent resulting rate of middle-class development, you can see by our estimate 2030, nearly 60% of the world will be middle population versus only 27% 8 short years ago. That translates itself into disposable income, which in our case translates itself into air traffic. You might have read that a week ago, IATA said, first time ever, 20,000 routes connecting 58,000 cities. If you look at what traffic growth was in 2017, it was over 7%. We think it's 5% long-term on average, but last year was 7%. The first quarter of this year looks like it was north of 8% in terms of growth. So we're seeing spectacular growth in terms of RPMs. We think that's going to continue. You can see by 2030, we think there's over 9 billion RPMs. I'll translate that to airplanes for you. Today, 29,000 airplanes, commercial airplanes in service. We think by the time we get to 2030, there's going to be nearly 40,000 airplanes in service. And in between then and now, when you look at retirements and growth, we could potentially deliver close to 30,000 airplanes. That's more than we've delivered in the last 50 years. I mean, the rate of growth is phenomenal, which is why we see a supply chain that's somewhat strained, because this growth is something like we've never seen within aerospace. But it's not just commercial. Defense is changing. The budget deal we got for 18 and 19, obviously we're very happy about. And if you look, in this chart on the left is all corrected for $18. You can see the budget deal we just got is at a level of spend that's higher than we had in the prior 3 wars. Not quite as high as we had in Afghanistan, but still higher than the prior 3 wars. If you look in the middle slot, that's just the defense obligation. Now that does not include the overseas contingency operation, the OCO. This is straight procurement, R&D, operations and maintenance, and salaries for the DoD employees. And you can see in the case of DoD funding, it's up $60 billion relative to the prior period. And how that translates to us, when I look inside of that budget, Joint Strike Fighter, about $10 billion of that budget is going to be on Joint Strike Fighter. About $3 billion of that budget is going to be on the tanker. And when you look at long-range strike bomber, about $2 billion in R&D is for the bomber. We are on the right platforms. It's the highest, JSF is the #1 DoD priority. The tanker also has high priority given the aging of the KC-135s. And the bomber, of course, is a strategic need. There is no doubt that we placed our bets in the right place. I'll also tell you that from where I sit, our military engine business is unmatched. GE actually hasn't won one in a very long time. We won the 119 on the F-22 back in 1991, and we fundamentally haven't lost one since. So we have totally changed the complexion of the military landscape competitively relative to our competitors. Business aviation's changing. We had a lull in business aviation, post-2009, financial crisis, crackdown and corruption in China, all of those conspired, as well as a strong dollar, all of those conspired to basically reduce the amount of demand on business aircraft. But we see some very encouraging trends. The chart on the left shows young used aircraft 5 years or less, how many of those are on the market for sale, and also you'll see what the percent of list price is. So you can see that it's come from 11% of aircraft available for sale used less than 5 years, down to 4%. And currently you can see the percent of list price is almost up to 80%, which probably is the high in that time frame that you're looking at on that chart. So we're starting to see liquidation of that used aircraft demand, and we're starting to see business aircraft demand growing, of course, through the investments we made on the 800 and the 300 in particular. That's obviously going to fuel our growth. The other side of this chart is you look at what sharing economy, what does that mean? So you've got places like NetJets and the like, where people basically can lease time on an airplane. In some instances, it's almost like an Uber with wheels up. You look at that trend has basically grown at 6% per annum compound since 1980. And if we look out in 2016, there's about 2,200 of those out today. I'll give you some numbers that we think feed that. One of which is there's, in terms of individuals that have high net worth, there's 51% more of those today than there was 5 years ago. Another fact, another statistic. If I look in the last 5 years, this sharing economy, 32% increase in the last 5 years. And finally, utilization of those assets is up 15% in the last 5 years. So we're looking at all those leading indicators, and we know that that's going to be business aviation in terms of demand prospectively. And again, we think we made the right investments in the right market. So when I look at commercial, military, and our small engine business in Canada, I will tell you that we believe we're incredibly well positioned for the future. Last year, organically, we grew our sales 9% in 2017 versus 2016. We have guided Wall Street to the fact that our revenue line will probably grow low teens this year. So we'll be up 13 to 15% in terms of revenue year over year organically, which means it's all the same, basically motors that we sold last year, we're gonna sell this year, and we're gonna see a revenue line that grows about 13 to 15%. You do that math, it says we're gonna be somewhere around $19 billion of revenue this year, record for the company. If I look inside of 2017, commercial engines is about 50% of our revenue line, and if I look inside military and Pratt Canada, they make up the remaining 50%, about equally, about 25% each. So our speech to Wall Street, our speech to our customers, we've got a balanced portfolio. We've made investments in all three segments, and all three segments are growing. We are prepared for the growth. We have spent billions of dollars in terms of capitalizing our factories, preparing our supply chain. Shane will talk a little bit about that when he gets up here. We are literally at the current time spending about $1 billion a year in capital, all about the ramp and the rate. And we're well on our way to getting to where we want to be. And finally, we're an engine company. We don't pretend to be anything else. We're an engine company. And we are laser focused on just being an engine company. We're not interested in being a nacelle company. We're not interested in any of the ancillary parts of what the business is. We are laser focused on being an engine company. And we think focus makes you successful in the market. You know, we are very diverse in terms of our applications. We have 15 different end markets. I will tell you, neither of our competitors can say that. These 15 end markets that we show up here is unique to us. We believe, obviously, as I said before, our military engine business, second to none. Our small engine business in Pratt Canada, #1 in virtually every market they participate in. Again, a breadth of portfolio that neither of our competitors can compare with. And then finally, of course, the investments we made in our geared turbofan, revolutionary for sure, and delivering on the value we committed to our customers in terms of fuel burn. We're changing the way we deliver customer satisfaction. We're down in the digital accelerator today, and I will tell you that our fundamental theory about investment in digital, if it doesn't enhance the customer experience, we're not going to spend money on it. So where we spend our digital money is all about enhancing the customer experience. So if I look at digital design, so I'll give you a couple of examples. So we're basically in the process of putting all our computing in the cloud. Gives us high capacity, high speed capability we never had when we basically were held hostage to servers. And I'll give you an example. So a compressor airfoil, it would used to take us about 5 days to do one design iteration on a compressor airfoil. Aerodynamically, weight, structures, 5 days to do one airfoil. We can do 10 iterations in an hour now. where we optimize aerodynamics, weight, and structure. That speed allows us to have less rigs, allows us to take time out of the development cycle, and basically speed product to market for our customers, all in the name of customer satisfaction. If I look at reducing, and that really goes along the lines of reducing program risk and rework, really. Our modeling sophistication has come miles in the last 5 years. If I look at our smart factory, again, all in the name of customer satisfaction. You know, a lot of our processes we've automated. We did that so that we could basically automate the process and take variability out of it and improve our quality performance and our throughput and our yield. And we've got a couple of examples of that Shane will share with you later. This happens to be a picture of an automated turbine disc line up in Pratt, Canada. That line's totally automated. There is no human intervention. We load a part, robots take it from station to station, we never touch it. The quality's improved about 40%, the throughput's doubled, and we do it with basically a single operator that just monitors that cell versus 8 people that used to have to man that cell. What it also means, though, and I'll talk about this in a little bit while, it means the skill set that our employees need is changing. We don't really look at classical machining anymore. Now we look at people that can actually monitor software, do robotic repair, balance a line, be able to go to adjust machines to make sure we stay within our statistical process control limits. That's the type of skill set that we're going to need prospectively in the 21st century. I'll talk a little bit about more of that in a few minutes. And then finally, connected products, full flight data. On a C-Series airplane, when a GTF flies, we collect 5 megabyte of data on every flight. And with that data, we're able actually to analyze that data and basically develop prognostics so that we can do preventative maintenance on an engine before we actually have a failure. I'll give you a number. If we can reduce the number of unscheduled engine removals by 10%, just 10%, it's $150 million in cost savings. It's powerful. And that's where we really see the value of connected products. We're changing the way we produce. I showed an example on the prior chart. The left, you can see we're doing additive manufacturing. We've got about 45 parts, 25 of them are supplied to us by UTAS, about another 20 ourselves that we're additively producing as it relates to GTF. We do things like electric discharge machining. So what is that? You basically take a part, you put it in a dielectric solution, you put a wire in there that basically will cut it for you, you put a charge through it, and really what it is, it basically gives you a precision that we're unable to do when we do super abrasive machining. So again, quality, speed, cost. If you look at automation, I talked about the automated disc line up in Montreal. We also automated our aluminum fan blade production in Lansing, Michigan. We set up a plant, second plant up there. We had one plant, we called it Plant 4, this is Plant 5. We have completely automated how that blade's produced. Again, all in the name of taking out process variation. And so I can tell you 2 years ago, we were hard pressed to make 10 or 12 fan blade sets a month.